now I hold be the same in a whole rain. Let me give the call about style.
Well, this is Tain, man, you the call me Steen. You know, for someone, never judge a God, baby's a jam. You the common, not choose, not buying, but not sure. Hope, this again, a lot of trouble, no time.
Bentornati, welcome back, everyone, wherever you're watching from across this beautiful country of Canada. Thank you for joining us today. Well, like many businesses and institutions within Ontario, the doors to the McMichael Art Gallery were closed for more than 16 months. But as of July 21st, art lovers can once again explore and admire Canadian art as the province entered stage 3. And not sure I can find anyone more elated than my next guest. Executive Director Ian Dejardin is joining us. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
So I have to ask Ian, please share with us your thoughts, your feelings on being able to once again open up the doors to the McMichael Art Gallery.
Oh, you have no idea. I go in quite regularly, of course, but the place looks so beautiful, and it's just agony for there not to have been people in there enjoying it as well. So we're thrilled. We can't wait.
So if you can give us a little bit of history, because there is sometimes, we get so used to seeing something that we don't understand where it started, where it began, especially when we live in the city that it is. So tell us a little bit about the McMichael Art Gallery, if you can, a little bit of the history on how it's gotten to where it is today.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a long history now. I mean, our founders were Robert and Signe McMichael, and they just started as a private couple. They built a kind of cottage up in Kleinberg, now in Vaughan, and they started collecting art, Canadian art. And they particularly loved the Group of Seven and that period, the contemporaries, Emily Carr, David Milne. And eventually they dreamed big. Robert McMichael was a fairly amazing person. And he eventually decided that it was going to be more than just a private collection. He wanted it to be an art gallery open to the public, and persuaded the province to take it on. And it opened to the public in 1966 with 194 works of art. And it now has 6,500 works of art and is a major art gallery set in some of the most beautiful countryside within easy reach of downtown Toronto that you could possibly imagine, just above the Humber River there. So it's a special place. It has a wonderful link between art and nature. You can go for a long walk there along the Humber River, which is where the Carrying Place Trail lay. So you've got 12,000 years of history there as well. And then go into the gallery and see the very best of the art of Canada.
It is. It's a beautiful piece of property, and I've had the pleasure to explore that, as many have, and it is definitely a very calming, beautiful place with so much to see and experience, especially being so in connection with art and with nature. I think it just goes hand in hand beautifully. Ian, I want to ask you a little bit. So now we're opening up the doors to the public on the 21st of July. You have several exhibits that we can experience. But before we talk about the others, I have to talk about one that I believe from reading that you're very excited about, which is called A Like Vision, the Group of Seven at 100. And if I'm not mistaken, Ian, please, am I correct in saying that the A Like Vision was inspired by Lauren Harris on his own words in an article written many years ago?
That's right. We originally opened the show because last year was the centenary of the first exhibition by the Group of Seven. They were founded in March, but on May the 7th, 1920, they held their first exhibition, and Lauren Harris wrote the catalogue essay for that, and he refers to the Group of Seven as a group of painters who held a like vision. And so we thought we'll use his words for this particular exhibition. And of course, we have an amazing collection of the Group of Seven at the McMichael, one of the best. And it was my great privilege to curate the show. And I just pulled together the best of what we have, and that's the best of the best. So it's a sensational show. Though I say so myself.
Of course. Well, I mean, you curated the show, Ian, so I would assume that. But what about, are we going to learn something new? Because, we've seen several pieces. We're used to seeing several pieces that we're familiar with. But will there be something unfamiliar, something that we may not expect to see from the Group of Seven?
Oh, heavens, yes. I mean, because, I mean, you can hear from my voice, I'm not Canadian, and I'm British. I've been a sort of closet super fan for decades now. And so I just naturally find things that perhaps aren't familiar to Canadians. Of course, all the big guns are there, the great Lauren Harrises and the wonderful Franklin Carmichaels. But I particularly picked up on some aspects, some paintings that are perhaps less familiar for a start, from early on and later on in their careers. But also, one of the revelations has been their works on paper. They were great draftsmen too. And I've chosen A.Y. Jackson, who used a sketch pad just as we would use an iPhone today, and sketched everything he saw. And he has a remarkable, a kind of a reporter's eye. And we've got many of his drawings in there. Franklin Carmichael was a brilliant draftsman too, but he was a brilliant everything. Mm-hmm. He did printmaking, he did posters, he did commercial art. And Arthur Lismer was a cartoonist as well. And so I've got these wonderful cartoons. These are really valuable because we look on the Group of Seven with kind of awe and reverence these days. Arthur Lismer was there and he didn't. He found them funny. And it's nice to know that the Group of Seven could laugh at themselves. And his cartoons are really very funny indeed.
So Ian, we're going to look forward to that. I have to ask really quickly before we go, you know, art is so much more than what we see on the canvas. A lot of times it has a message. It's poignant to a time or to a social issue. Some of the other exhibits, if you can just really quickly mention, is, you know, you have one about women. You have one about indigenous art, which is something you've always had at the McMichael, but you have this beautiful exhibit to show, as well as those with Denise Tomaso's Odyssey regarding the BIPOC community. Can you tell us really quickly about that and the message you want to get out there?
Yes, well, I mean, one of the things about a gallery like McMichael is that, you know, when it was founded, and in the 1920s, women artists were largely not ignored, but they didn't have the presence that they have now. We're kind of rectifying that, and we're looking very much at BIPOC artists. Denise Tomasos, for instance, is a Trinidadian Canadian who died tragically in 2012. One of those awful things on the operating table, and she died suddenly at age 48. And she is a major artist. She's a major artist who, her career is just oddly, posthumously, just taking off now. She's going to be a big name on everyone's lips. But we're looking at other women artists at the time, and in September we're opening a stunning show. I apologize for bragging, but it's going to be the most important show in Canada, I think, called Uninvited, Canadian Women Artists in the Modern Moment. And it looks at the wide range of artists, Indigenous and settler, who were working at the same time as the Group of Seven, but were, as we've said in the title, uninvited. They were not, they weren't invited to join the Group of Seven, but they were great artists. This is a magnificent show. We have so many others. Esma Mahome is coming up.
Yes.
Rajni Pereira. We represent all of the art of Canada, and that's all of Canada now, not just the Group of Seven. It's really important.
Well, it's great to hear that. It's great to speak with you for the first time on our program. And congratulations, and we look forward to your opening on the 21st. We know you're very excited, as well as the team and everyone there, and all of us who appreciate art, and specifically Canadian art and artists. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great Sunday afternoon.
Thank you.
That was the executive director of the McMichael Art Gallery, Ian Dejardin, as they are set to open up their doors on July the 21st. We're going to take a short break, everyone, but don't go too far. There's a lot more to come on our program.